And this is powerful stuff. Wellness Education Cannabis Advocates of Nevada present the We Can 702 Nevada Cannabis News Hour with the We Can radio team. For the next 60 minutes, we'll take an in-depth look at the cannabis reform revolution sweeping the nation. Now, let's fire up the news hour. Here is the We Can radio team.
Welcome to the Nevada Cannabis News Hour. Today we have our hosts, Michael McCullough, Perry Heichu, myself, Kurt Dukach, and in the studio today we have guests Rihanna Durrett and Amanda Connor. So Rihanna, you're with the Nevada Dispensary Association, correct?
That's right. And I'm also an attorney working with Amanda Connor.
Okay. And just recently we had a remote satellite office open up out here in Las Vegas to help us with patients obtaining their medical cards. So, and you were behind that, correct?
So can you tell us a little more about it?
That's right. The Nevada Dispensary Association worked with the state going back to the beginning of this year and a little earlier to address the delays that patients were experiencing in obtaining cards. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the delays. It seemed to take anecdotally 2 to 3 months to get a card, and sometimes longer. Some patients, even with terminal illnesses, were waiting months, which obviously doesn't serve any purpose to anybody. So the state was actually really receptive to NDA's involvement and allowed and worked with us through meetings and different briefs that we submitted, looking at what is the problem, how do we address the problem, and they actually came up with the idea, well, let's have this office in Las Vegas where that patients can walk into. Why not go to the patients? So we still have the Carson City option of applying through the Carson City office, and that's really important because that process is being sped up due to a lot of efforts of NDA and other organizations.
And also the fact that the department is awash with money from people who put in licensing applications, so they now have the budget to do these things.
I actually I don't know how much they've received based on the cards. Those figures are out there. Either way, it was something that needed to happen. That there were fixes that could be made that didn't even cost money. Mm-hmm. So we really focused on those.
Can you give us examples?
One of the best examples is they would deliver the applications to another department that would do background checks, hand deliver them. Wait a week, go pick them up, bring them back to the office, and wait till they got those results to issue a card. And we showed them, this was a legal argument that I presented to them, that NRS doesn't require you to wait for these background check results. Go ahead, issue the card. NRS allows you to issue the card. If you get the results and it shows that the person has a conviction that does not allow them to have a card, go ahead and revoke the card. And so that was a fix that didn't require money.
Because since the program's inception, and certainly as we've seen in personal experience over the past 10 years, once you do submit your application, you get a preliminary letter back from the state saying that your application has been conditionally approved pending the results of this, and that your permanent approval will come through at some point after that. But unfortunately, it seems that in the language of the law, dispensaries were not able to work on that approval letter, that you had to wait for the physical card. And you're nodding your head, Amanda. What do you think about this?
Oh, well, in working with NDA, my law office, one of the things we argued is that since we represent many of the dispensaries, they should be allowed to accept the conditional letter of approval in the interim while the patient's background and card is being issued. Because another hurdle that they still face is you go to the DMV to actually get your card, right? You get your letter, you actually can't go purchase yet. You still have to go to the DMV to get your to get your card. So there has been a change. Another one that I don't think costs the division any money is that they now allow patients with their letter of approval to purchase up to 60 days pending obtaining their final card. And then, like Rihanna was talking about, now that letter of approval comes even faster because they'll issue it without receiving the background check, and then they can revoke it if the background check raises an issue.
And you're absolutely right where you're talking about a 60-day process, and Rihanna, you were talking about it could take 2 to 3 months. Back in 2010, when I had a referral service, the division was taking 3, 4, sometimes 5 months to get answers back to these people. And if somebody is sick, if somebody had diabetes and they had to wait for 5 months, they'd be dead. If somebody has a terminal illness, they can't wait for that amount of time. And, what I'm curious about, you're talking about expediting this for, you mentioned terminal patients. And I think that's been one of the biggest issues that we have had for years, is that if you've got somebody who is that sick, not only do they not have the time to wait, but they're not going to necessarily be able to go down to the Department of Motor Vehicles and physically get a card, much less go to a dispensary. Now, in theory, with the delivery services that dispensaries offer, that could be ameliorated. But the idea that you have to have the card when you have an official letter that came certified from the state, it seemed kind of nuts.
So there are some short-term solutions in the work for that, and then there's some long-term solutions that I'm sure you guys would support, and there will be room for everybody to be active on this next session. First, short-term solutions are that the entire process will be electronic. And these are the fixes that did take a lot of money and effort from the state. A lot of they had to really use up their resources for these, and luckily they are. So the entire process will be electronic, and ultimately there will be no DMV visit required. So that is already in the works. We expected that to happen already. The process going electronic, they're in testing mode for that still.
Well, I think they've gotten it so now that you can make your original request for your application packet
That's
online.
correct.
Yeah.
So you will also be able to upload it electronically, and then you will receive an electronic letter of approval. Cuts down on the time greatly. And ultimately, no DMV visit will be required because the DMV and the Department of Public and Behavioral Health are working on developing the software to be able to do the electronic magical internet communication to allow the DMV to issue your card from the DMV without you coming in using your driver's license picture. So the long-term solutions are, I think anybody in the industry and any patient advocate would know, we just need better access. This was an entirely new program. The legislature was very careful implementing it, and that's probably fortunate for everybody, even though it's very frustrating because we did it the right way, and we didn't have any huge problems with anybody getting sick. So going forward, though, we know this needs to be treated like medicine. You need to take down the barriers between a doctor and a patient, and we need to allow people to obtain their medicine as soon as their doctor okays it. We'll still have other controls for tracking, but we need to not have so many steps in between where the government is involved in facilitating that relationship. It should be between the doctor and the patient.
Very good.
I have a question
Please.
for our viewers. What exactly is the NDA, the Nevada Dispensary Association? What is your purpose? Are you a lobbying group for the patients? Are you a trade organization for the dispensaries? And if so, what percentage of the dispensaries do you represent?
We are a trade organization that represents dispensaries. Those are the members. We represent their interests and advocate for their interests in any way that a trade organization would. And the idea originally was for these dispensary owners to get together and say, how do we make this industry a success, and how do we go forward with best practices that will benefit everybody? We need to be self-regulating because we don't want to invite trouble. So that's the way it was founded. We have been very active in industry advocacy, which many of those issues do benefit the patient who are central to the industry. And right now we represent about 40 of the 66 dispensary licenses, and many of those dispensary owners also have cultivation and production licenses. So it is primarily focused on license holders, but as you guys know, this is a small town and everybody knows everybody. So these owners are very conscientious of patient issues and making sure that we keep the patients happy as well and well served.
Amanda, as Rihanna just said, the state was very careful in parsing out exactly what they were going to allow and what they were going to allow, and the division has not stepped 1 inch over the line of where of what the legislature said. They're not willing to put toes any further in the water. The complex nature of the regulation that we have, while certainly is good for attorneys, and you've done a lot of work in this area, is it really maybe too much? On the one hand, it seems in talking to a number of license applicants that over the last couple of years that it was almost an insurmountable mountain of paperwork that they had to deliver. Yet on the other hand, when you're looking from a federal perspective, the more strictly regulated a state program is, indicates that the state is occupying the field there and not giving the room for the federal government to step in. So where do you feel this all this regulation has come from?
So I feel Nevada stepped in initially to be very heavily regulated for the exact reason that you indicated, that the federal government said if a state is regulating its market, we're not going to step in, although it is still a Schedule I drug. I think right now Nevada is trying to figure out how to strike the balance between being regulated and yet ensuring that patients have access. As an attorney, you're right. I like regulations. I also like black and white. I want it, yes, you can do this, or no, you cannot. And unfortunately, we don't have all those answers because it's such a new industry and a lot of things weren't anticipated. And so the division is working hard to kind of strike a balance between patient access and businesses being able to kind of self-regulate versus making sure it's regulated and they have good oversight. The other thing that I try and tell people is this was passed as medical marijuana. It is a medicine. If you think the paperwork that was submitted to get a dispensary or cultivation here was difficult, try going through an FDA food drug trial. That paperwork is a lot complex, and in essence, we're treating this as a regulated drug under the same kind of scheme and complex. So I think that Nevada was, yes, it's a lot, but Nevada was trying to regulate it in a safe manner for patients.
So as a representative of the Nevada Dispensary Association and as someone who has plenty of clients in that area, I know that any industry tends to say, oh my God, there's too much government regulation, and if we just have less regulation, business could be easier, prices could be cheaper, and it'd be better for everybody. Are you hearing complaints from any of these MME holders at this point who are saying, gee, this burden of what we have to do to the state is just too heavy?
I think there could always be some regulations that in hindsight go a little too far. It doesn't seem to be the framework of the regulations, but how they're enforced that can sometimes be a problem. But in general, I think that the dispensary owners, that's not their primary concern because they do want it to be a well-regulated industry. And this really sets Nevada apart. These are successful business leaders and community leaders who have been compliant in another field already because we had the requirements we did to get involved in it. You have doctors who are used to following regulations. You have lawyers who are used to being regulated. You have successful business owners who are used to being regulated. So whereas there might be some complaints here and there, overall, I think that they understand the need for for Nevada to succeed. That we want to run a tight ship here.
Well, it's interesting that you're right. Doctors and attorneys are used to dealing with complex regulations, but I'd say most of the chief growing officers of these industries are not. And so it seems that in a lot of these cases that you have people who got these licenses, and you make this point exactly. They went through this process. They were well versed in it, and yet they largely were inexperienced in this industry.
Yeah, a lot
beforehand.
of non-cannabis people owning cannabis dispensaries. Do you smoke cannabis?
I am not going to share that information in a public medium, but
That's a closeted yes.
I don't think that I wasn't aware that was going to be an issue.
No, and it's not.
It's not particular. What I'm trying to say is that it seems like there's a lot of non-cannabis people that are in the cannabis industry, and my question is, did you have any prior experience in the cannabis industry before representing the Dispensary Association? And that's like a lot of. I guess due to the overburdensome regulations, we did have a lot of business leaders and basically people who had no interest in the industry before getting into it, in my opinion, mostly for the money. And, there's a cop that owns the apothecary shop up on West Buffalo, and, I do what I can to throw them under the bus every chance I get, because I feel like people who have spent their lives trying to subvert the industry really have no place in the industry. And, maybe that's a very childish way to look at it, but it is what it is, and I take a very aggressive stance on that. And I just wish that there were more, I guess, what I would want to call an honest representation of a true cannabis entrepreneur, and not just someone who decided just to gather their wealthy friends and just open a dispensary when there were so. Look, I wouldn't have a problem with it if it was an open thing, if anyone was able, and when I mean anyone, I guess anyone really can, because you can gather a team and go ahead and apply. But really, when you get right down to it, it's not possible for most normal people, average middle-class people, to open a dispensary, and it's...
or even a mom-and-pop bake shop.
There's no such thing in this state anymore when it comes to the cannabis industry. Well, and if there were unlimited numbers of licenses given, it wouldn't be a big deal. But when there are so few restricted licenses given and they're so profitable, it seems a shame that it's gone that way. But it is what it is, and that's another story for another day.
And that's a complex statement. We're going to give you a little time to respond. We'll go to our first commercial break now, and we'll talk about that a little when we come back.
Nevada Pure is a premier, vertically integrated medical marijuana enterprise which offers top-quality medical marijuana, great customer service, and a safe, private environment. We carry a wide selection of medical cannabis strains. Our knowledgeable staff will assist you in finding the correct strain for your condition. Our trained professional staff can educate you on various strains for your condition, methods of consumption, responsible cannabis use, and the wellness benefits of cannabis. We aim to help patients achieve a better quality of life. Medical marijuana is a medicine, not an intoxicant. It's about a patient's well-being at Nevada Pure. From the moment you make an appointment with us, your care, health, and well-being is our priority. Nevada Pure is located at 4360 Boulder Highway, Las Vegas, Nevada. Check out their entire menu at WWDBTV.com. From the soothing sounds of a water wall to the warmth, wood interior, and beautiful artwork, as soon as you enter Sahara Wellness, you are welcomed into a relaxing space where we strive to provide our patients with a healthy balance of mind, body, and spirit. That balance is achieved through a compassionate and knowledgeable staff who possesses both a passion for the medical cannabis industry as well as unrivaled dedication to assisting those in need of a natural method of pain relief. Our budtenders are available to assist patients in selecting cannabis-based medicine that best suits their needs from our selection of flower, waxes, CBD lotions, and delicious edibles. Sahara Wellness is located at 420 East Sahara Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada. Check out our entire menu at www.420sahara.com.
Attention medical marijuana patients. Did you know that your medicine could contain pesticides, heavy metals, and even mold? Are you really sure that you're getting the same potency every single time? Well, the answer to that question is simple. DigiPath Labs. DigiPath Labs is a state-approved laboratory run by scientists. So look for the DigiPath Labs quality seal on your next medicine and on the door of your favorite dispensary. To learn more, go to digipathlabs.com. That's DIGIPATH labs.com.
Hi, I'm Armin Yamanijan, CEO of Essence Dispensaries, and I'd like to let you know a little bit about our company. As a completely complimentary service, our on-site nurse is here to meet with any patient or non-patient to discuss dosing and best practices. We have 3 convenient locations. We have one location on Tropicana between Decatur and Jones, which is our west side location. Our Henderson location is on the corner of Sunset and Green Valley Parkway, and we're proud to announce that we have the first and only dispensary on the Las Vegas Strip, on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara. Our prices are the lowest prices in town and the highest quality medicine. Please come and see us at one of our 3 convenient locations or visit us at essencevegas.com. You can also call us at 702-978-7575. Once again, the number is 702-978-7575.
Welcome back to the Nevada Cannabis News Hour. Today in the studio we have our guests Rihanna Durrett and Amanda Connor. So we were just talking about the state remote office and some other items here.
Well, and just before we went to break, Perry was saying that he felt that the regulations were such that it prevented a lot of small businesses from getting into, small potential business owners and entrepreneurs from getting into this business, and that you had a lot of people who were non-cannabis or even opposed to medical cannabis or cannabis usage beforehand, all of a sudden jumping on board. It's been my own assertion that the state, in regulating this, has chosen to, it's pot, not plutonium, that they've gone way overboard on this. And, I agree that if this is medicine, and we're legitimately calling it and using it as medicine, that quality controls need to be put in place, and that we need to be careful to make sure that the patients have something which is not contaminated by pesticides, which is not contaminated by mold or other pathogens, and so there's certainly a need for testing in the labs. But, being a lawyer aside, or being lawyers aside, do you really think that that we need this much regulation going forward, or do you see that there's a possibility we'll streamline the process?
Well, in my opinion, I think it's striking a balance. I think we will streamline the process some, and they'll be perhaps a little easier to get in the industry or remain in the industry once you're up and operating. But I also think that we'll find other areas where there isn't a lot of regulation that they will then come in and start regulating more heavily. I recently was out talking with legislators and local people from the city of Denver, and they were talking about how they kind of went on this roller coaster ride of, higher regulation and then wanting to loosen it up, and then there would be another problem or issue that arose, so they went to stricter regulations and then back down. I think we'll ride that roller coaster ride here for a little bit in Nevada till we can kind of find a balance between having a regulated market, but also allowing businesses to operate and patients to have access to medicine.
I would very much like to see when we're going to get to that low point on the coaster, because you're talking about Denver, and I remember going back into Denver in 2009 and opening a dispensary in cultivation, and all I had to do was go down to City Hall and pay $20 and get a business license, and I was in business.
Sounds good to me.
And so for people who have had that kind of entry-level experience, it does seem that this whole process is hugely complex. But, as you're saying, Rihanna, we'll be looking into the next legislative session, and just because this is encoded into statute does not mean it's immutable and unchangeable. There's every opportunity for people to get involved in this process, make their feelings whole. And that's one of the things that I do love about Nevada, is that we are so close in access to our legislators, because they're part-timers in this, because they are so available in their home districts so much. I think that it gives anyone who's interested the opportunity to reach out to them and tell personal stories and start changing minds. And I just hope that outweighs the checks from big pharmaceutical that they wave around during session.
Well, I think that I don't think that's been a big concern, but this is where patients really need to weigh in, because I was under the impression that there are a lot of patients who want rigorous testing and want to know exactly what the product is and want to know the terpenoid profile. So I think a lot of those questions come from patients. So I'm very interested, and I don't have the answer to know what exactly do the patients want to know about the product, and so how much should be required by the state to answer their questions.
I don't know that that I would completely agree with that, because when you're talking about patients interested in terpenoid levels and the mix-up of cannabinoids, people can get their blood test results back from a doctor, from a lab, and they are not going to know the least bit about it, and only a small percentage of them is actually going to go online or investigate it. And it seems that they're just that in the case of medical cannabis, that they just want to know what's going to work for them, what the potential side effect would be, and that it's clean.
Yeah. So the tests that are required now are pesticides, terpenoids, cannabinoids, growth regulators is when they're considering adding herbicides, fungicides. So I would love to know from the patient's perspective, which are those that you think the state should require and which ones
Patients
are
want,
not of
they
the
want it
patient's
cheap and
concern.
they want it strong.
They want it.
That's it.
I think the average patient out there is, they're going to look for the THC content, which is basically telling us the strength, the CBD content, which is the strength on that, and basically we want to make sure that it's safe, that it doesn't have mold or mildew or pesticides on it. All the other stuff is just kind of like icing on the cake. And whereas I would say a majority of the patients don't even look at that stuff. They look at the THC, the CBD, and
Yeah, that's it. They're looking at the THC content, some of them the CBD content, and mostly the price. All of this other stuff is just for the regulators and the legislators. None of that matters to them.
And-
This is all for show, basically. I mean, it really is just as simple as that.
And Kurt, we were speaking over the weekend, counseling someone who had just joined the program, and this woman was afraid of taking something that had too high of a THC level. And unfortunately, it seems that the benchmark that all these dispensaries are competing against one another, and the cultivators, is, we have the highest THC. But that's just one of 66 cannabinoids in cannabis. And, if what you're doing is looking to get high and euphoric, then THC is the thing that you want. But otherwise, CBD and CBN and so many other things really come into play. And I think if you're end of life, if you've got cancer, there's nothing wrong with that euphoria, and you want to go there. But just to use THC as a benchmark really takes away from the plethora that
I understand. I understand what you're talking about, but if I'm a dispensary owner, most likely I'm here to make money. Even though they say, "Oh, we're here for the patients," like it's about making money, straight up. For me and my shareholders. Yeah, sure, but. Look, it's just, I'm not gonna...
No, I agree with you, and in all honesty, and let me get your opinions. It seems to me, although we have a medical cannabis industry, that looking at most of these places as they've developed, that they all seem to have developed and opened with the recreational market in mind. I don't think any of the people who spent all this money were saying to themselves, okay, well, we're going to have this little medical marijuana market, and so that justifies spending millions and millions of dollars.
Well, I will tell you that I know the state and several of the business owners based it off Colorado's numbers and the projected patient numbers that Colorado got. If Nevada had followed that track, there would have been a booming medical market that they would have recouped their initial investments rather quickly. Unfortunately, because of some hurdles that we were talking about earlier with getting patient cards, those numbers in Nevada have not increased as was projected. We expected to see, 60 to 80,000 in the first year in Nevada once dispensaries opened, and we're at under 20.
Yeah.
There's been some hurdles, but I think people did look at thinking they would have a robust medical market here in Nevada, that even if recreational didn't pass, because a lot of the recreational initiative wasn't officially on the ballot or considered by the legislature at the time they were applying. So they initially invested looking at the medical market.
Well, as the person who actually authored that report to the Senate Judiciary Committee and provided those numbers and used Colorado as our example as another Intermountain West state, one of the things that I said in that report was those numbers were going to go up significantly to the numbers you're mentioning once dispensaries were open. And that didn't mean once Euphoria opened the first dispensary in August of last year. We really didn't get to that point of that general availability until I'd say, just a few months ago, earlier this year. So I'd say the jury is still out on that. Is it possible that we could achieve those numbers? We're behind the curve in doing so, but everything that we can do that makes it easier. Pardon me?
I said not with the restrictions of getting the card.
Well, I
so
think
that's what the Dispensary Association and these are trying to alleviate that, because in Colorado it's super easy to get.
I think we've approached a lot of the hurdles and we've done a good job knocking a lot of them down, but I still think we have one humongous hurdle that really puts us at a disadvantage is the price. I mean, we've done wonders. I mean, it's come down, but still, even now, even to do it yourself and not go through any of the services, you're still looking at $200 every year to get your card. Whereas you go to California, you walk in, $40, you walk out, you got your card in your hand. So that's one of the biggest hurdles that we still have. I mean, that's a lot of money, and that's part of the reason we have our patient program. We have patients every day reaching out to us saying we can't afford to get our medical marijuana card.
Which is one reason why WeCan has a patient support program for indigent patients, and we've helped, I don't know how many, but it's a sizable number, over 200 patients who could not otherwise afford to get their cards. WeCan has covered that cost for them.
And I think that's one of the things we need to look at next session, and that we can partner on again, as well as other issues, is reducing or eliminating that cost. For example, and I'm not saying this is going to be what we would propose, but for example, if we propose that once the patient has their doctor's recommendation, they take that straight to the dispensary, something like that, there is no cost for the card. Something along those lines.
That's more of a California viewpoint.
Right. And, there's many other factors to be looked at, but I do think we need to look at the cost. It shouldn't, it is prohibitively expensive for some. So.
And it should be noted that before the change in 2013, the cost of the patients annually was $200. Or no, not $50 and then $150 for the license annually. And that has been cut in half. So they are doing things to help the patients. One thing I'd like to ask you guys about is I know that you're...
Can I go back to... I just want to mention that I don't think Perry and I will ever see eye to eye on this, but I have had conversations with owners that are very heartfelt. They are very connected to the patients. I have one particular one in mind who was in tears because she was having a difficult time helping a cancer patient get the card. She physically drove the patient to obtain the card, and there's just so many stories of. I have a friend with a child.
Yeah. Everyone has great stories after the bill was passed and after all the hard work was done. Everyone magically has these great stories to tell. All of a sudden, they're big supporters. All of a sudden, if this is true, I'd like to see them do some real philanthropic work like I've done in legislative session next year. Tell the dispensary owners to pass the bill so that we can have concealed weapons permits. Fix the DUI bill. If you really care about patients, then fix the patient's issues.
Well, and there are definitely opportunities to work on these, and you are part of an organization that has a voice in that matter.
Let me ask, you had mentioned earlier, we've been talking about terminal patients and the like, and just before airtime, I learned that one of our local district court judges, whom I won't name out of respect for her privacy, has just entered hospice, and that we were approached in how can we help this person? How can we help get her medication? Now, if you have someone who's in hospice, yes, they have a doctor who will likely sign off, but how can they, or will they be able to have a family member or a surrogate go into this office on West Sahara and actually get state approval so that they can be treated the same day, because once they're in hospice, they don't typically have a lot of time.
Medical power of attorney.
I think there would be some hurdles to jump, but I do think that's possible. The caregiver would be able to, and a mobile notary, or and this is something that the dispensaries have been enlisted in helping because of the delays. It's so that they can help patients figure out this application process, because it unfortunately isn't as simple as it should be. So I do think, yes, she will. That is possible. There will be some hurdles, and of course, I'm happy to help with those, and there are others happy to help with those. But yeah, she will be able to become a patient.
Well, and that's, I mean, doing it in such a timely manner is especially important for people who have a very limited amount of time. So it's good to hear you saying this. I don't think that we gave out the address of this facility, and also are patients able to, or prospective patients able to go to this facility directly, or do they have to go to a dispensary first and are referred? Please.
You do need to go to one of the dispensaries that are participating, and that is not to bring patients into the dispensaries. If a patient is getting a card, they're going into the dispensary. It wasn't to attract patients. It was to have the dispensaries help the state with reviewing these applications for completeness and accuracy, because they were getting applications that weren't complete and accurate, would have to mail them back. It was causing a log jam. So they said, okay, we will provide this satellite office to help you. You need to help us kind of process the applications. They're not processing them, but they're reviewing them to make sure they're complete. So they've been trained to do that now, and they're providing staff to do that. You'll need to go to the NDA website, and I can provide that. WWWDBTV.com. There's a list of participating dispensaries. Go in there. There should be somebody there who's designated to walk you through the process and schedule an appointment for you to get the letter of approval the same day that you submit it. They'll schedule the appointment. You'll walk in and get it approved.
And how many dispensaries out of the 40 members that you have are participating in this program?
There are approximately 12 dispensaries participating. Some of them have several dispensaries, so I'd say there's probably, off the top of my head, 15.
Is there a hurdle that prevents everybody else from just getting involved in this?
So you had to be trained by the state on the application process and how to review it for completeness and what items they're specifically looking for. The idea was that if a dispensary pre-screens it, a staff member who's been appropriately trained, then those who are actually going into this application office will most likely have complete applications, and therefore the application can be processed in a timely manner and not have the log jams or delays like we experience at the DMV, where people walk in and, oh, I didn't know I needed this piece of paper, or I didn't know that. If you have someone that's walked you through it and you know exactly what to walk in with, the hope is in 15 to 20 minutes you are walking out with your letter of approval.
So that would be ideal. So you're saying then that that the reason more dispensaries are not taking part of this is because they have not designated people to be trained in the state process.
Yeah, a good number of them are involved. The ones that haven't, maybe they just didn't have the time because they're working on, getting operational to be involved. A good number are involved, and you don't need to be a member of NDA to be involved. And as much as we can expand this program, I'm happy to do that. If we could have helping with patient applications and scheduling appointments, I would be happy to do that. The state kept it small because it's a pilot program. So seeing how it works, and hopefully, it's my hope, as proud and happy as I am with the office, it's my hope we won't need it, because everything will be electronic and no DMV visit will be required. And I have to mention that Amanda has been through this there every step of the way in this process and has been really helpful in it as well.
And Amanda, let me just ask, going to the next legislature, there are plenty of plans and ideas that people have, but everything is waiting on this vote in November, which every poll that I've seen shows it polling at a minimum 56% and up to 60%. Presuming that those numbers hold and it does pass, what do you think that means for the legislative process vis-a-vis the medical cannabis industry?
So the question 2, should it pass, will not directly affect the medical industry. It will stay exactly the same as it is today. But I think the legislature will have quite a few questions that they should address. Perry brought one up a little earlier, saying if the dispensaries really care about the patients, they should address the DUI and concealed carry issues. I think that the legislature, regardless of whether question 2 passes or not, they need to look at some of those issues. But especially if question 2 passes, we need to define how we're going to identify DUI and prosecute it, how we're going to handle banking issues, how we're going to handle patients and concealed weapons, because we know Metro has taken a stance on that and said you can't get your concealed weapons permit.
Is that a state law or is that just a Metro thing?
That's a Metro policy.
That's
as
good
of
to
now.
know. I like
Based
that. I
on
need to
the
talk to you
state
after
law.
this.
It is based on the state law, but that is a formal and Metro policy. There are patients in other counties that are applying and obtaining concealed weapons.
That's what I've heard. I've heard Nye County is not so restrictive with that. And, that's never prevented me from getting my hunting tags by being a medical marijuana patient. So the state will take my money in reference to guns in one hand, but deny me from spending the money on the gun, something that involves firearms on the other hand. So, apparently the Department of Wildlife doesn't matter or doesn't care. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, there are issues like that I think definitely need to be addressed by the legislature, making sure that we have safe product in the stores, but yet looking at how can we make it more affordable to patients. And right now, Rihanna was listing all the testing that's required, and all of that comes through statute. But there may be some, especially if we can get feedback from the patients, that may not be required and may be quite costly. That we can reduce or eliminate.
Well, great, and it's about time for us to go to our second break. So I want to thank our 2 guests. This is not a cross-examination or even a direct examination, but we want to thank Rihanna Durrett of the Nevada Dispensary Association, and we want to thank Amanda Connor of Connor & Connor for coming down and sharing this valuable information with us today.
Thank you so much, counselors, and thank you for dealing with me.
Well,
Thank you.
we have issues that overlap, and so I think once we need to get together and work on those issues together, and then you can just continue to.
Well, the
keep me on
entire
other
Republican
issues.
Party doesn't agree on things, and we're going to see that next week. And nor does the Democratic Party. And so it's the nature in anything where you have more than a couple of people that there will be disagreements. So we'll see where it goes.
I appreciate you having us on today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and we'll be right back.
Attention medical marijuana patients. Do you know what your cannabis actually contains? Are there heavy metals, pesticides, or even mold? And what strength is it really? And is it really what you need? Well, the answers to these questions are simple. DigiPath Labs. DigiPath Labs is a Nevada state-approved medical marijuana testing facility whose scientists carefully test products for safety and potency, all within the state's rigorous mandate. You can buy with confidence and trust knowing DigiPath Labs has tested your medicine. If you're a licensed grower, dispenser, extractor, or edibles manufacturer in Nevada and want unparalleled customer service and consumer confidence, go to digipathlabs.com and find out what we can do for you. And as a patient, only go to dispensaries that carry the DigiPath Labs seal of approval. That's digipathlabs.com, DIGIPATH labs.com. Or call us at 702-209-2429. That's 702-209-2429.
From the soothing sounds of a water wall to the warmth, wood interior, and beautiful artwork, as soon as you enter Sahara Wellness, you are welcomed into a relaxing space where we strive to provide our patients with a healthy balance of mind, body, and spirit. That balance is achieved through a compassionate and knowledgeable staff who possesses both a passion for the medical cannabis industry as well as unrivaled dedication to assisting those in need of a natural method of pain relief. Our bud tenders are available to assist patients in selecting cannabis-based medicine that best suits their needs from our selection of flower, waxes, CBD lotions, and delicious edibles. Sahara Wellness is located at 420 East Sahara Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada. Check out our entire menu at www.420sahara.com. Nevada Pure is a premier, vertically integrated medical marijuana enterprise which offers top-quality medical marijuana, great customer service, and a safe, private environment. We carry a wide selection of medical cannabis strains. Our knowledgeable staff will assist you in finding the correct strain for your condition. Our trained professional staff can educate you on various strains for your condition, methods of consumption, responsible cannabis use, and the wellness benefits of cannabis. We aim to help patients achieve a better quality of life. Medical marijuana is a medicine, not an intoxicant. It's about a patient's well-being at Nevada Pure. From the moment you make an appointment with us, your care, health, and well-being is our priority. Nevada Pure is located at 4360 Boulder Highway, Las Vegas, Nevada. Check out their entire menu at WWDBTV.com.
Getting Legal offers an informative and simple way for you to get your marijuana card. Why come to Getting Legal to get your marijuana card? We have a 99% approval rating and the lowest price in town. Avoid legal problems. Getting Legal can get you legal fast. Ready for a new start? Come in now and get relief from your chronic conditions affecting your quality of life. Call Getting Legal today at 702-979-9999. That's 702-979-9999. Or visit our website at gettinglegal.com to get your marijuana card today.
Welcome back to the Nevada Cannabis News Hour. Today, right now, we have joining in us the Hope Studio, our president and founder, Jennifer Solis.
Woo woo!
Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Well, you know, it's much nicer here than working all the time. But so I'm happy to be back, even just for this short time with you guys, in this welcome atmosphere. I was worried about you guys earlier. I don't know about the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, but my party's pretty fun.
You always throw such fun parties.
I was gonna say, speaking of fun parties, you know, we're coming into our 8th year anniversary, and that party coming up.
When's that?
That's going to be what, the 28th? August
Yeah,
28th?
yeah. We're this month is our 8-year anniversary, July. So normally we throw a July party, but this last time we had so much stuff going on that we've kind of bumped it into August. So we're going to be doing it on August 28th. That's a Sunday. So, and it's at a new property. No one's ever done anything here before. And it's a 3-acre property with an Olympic-sized swimming pool, solar heated, salt water, outdoor bathrooms. So it's on the line of the property
Phenomenal.
in Boulder City.
Phenomenal.
You're not going to want to miss this one,
Yeah,
as
exactly.
usual.
And with a saltwater pool, we can invite the attorneys and the dispensary owners in because it'd be amenable to sharks.
I was gonna say, you know what? I think that you have a future, Perry, as a junior Ralston, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, nobody wants him around anymore either.
No, that's just Sheldon Adelson.
Yeah, they've thrown him under the bus so far. Good God.
Well, I was gonna say, I think that that had to do a lot to do with Sheldon Adelson. You know, he came back with PBS, didn't he, Ralston?
He's one of their largest donators. So,
Yeah, and so Albert Adelson was PBS's donator. So.
Well, you know, it is what it is, and that's journalism in America these days. And I'm not going to get into that with Ralston too far, but, you know, I'm sorry if I came across too abrasive, but really I have great passion for, you know, people accuse certain people of not, you know, of having ulterior motives and things like that. And, you know, regardless of what people think, I'm a fairly philanthropic individual in my nature on this. You know, I really do care about the patients, and I feel like they have kind of been left behind in all this. And it's important to refocus.
But the people who have been helping these patients for years, and what we really need to see is a program by which those who were convicted on a state level, at the very least, will have those convictions expunged.
I would love to see that. That would be amazing.
That would be a great start too. And you know what? And going into this 8th year, I think that it's fully possible for WeCan to really do that, because now we have a Northern Nevada chapter.
That's right.
Yes, newly created.
Tell us about that.
Yes.
We have a Northern Nevada chapter that not only has activists, it has lawyers, it has lobbyists on it. And
Has a radio show.
So Wow, right?
So this makes the third weekend chapter now, right?
The
correct.
third. Yeah, we've got Pahrump, we've got Weekend 702, and we've also got Weekend 775 now. So you can check out our social media and get the links to that. And so that's new and exciting.
Very exciting.
We've also made new positions on our board, and Michael's been welcomed back as director. You know, he was here for the longest time and helped form our organization, and we're happy to have him back. Perry's going to be taking care of like events and event management and coordinating that. I trust him wholeheartedly. Kurt's going to be doing secretarial work and making sure that all of our stuff is filed on time. Stacy's still our treasurer. Perry was at,
And
Ramsey
you
was
are
at
still
as
our
the-
Madam President.
Oh, yes, and I'm
Indeed.
still the
Which
president.
is really important.
And of course, Jason's still vice president.
VP.
So we're moving on, we're moving upward, and we're expanding, and to bring our message to all of Nevada, and also to expand our programs to all of Nevada. So that's super important, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
I would go ahead, Kurt.
And we added a couple new advisory positions, and we're adding a veterans chair also.
Oh, that's true.
And we still
That's
have
true.
Dr. Drew Fu as our medical director on our board, and Bruce Gale as our legal director.
That's true.
So
So our team just gets bigger and bigger.
And when you mentioned Bruce Gale, he is running for a district court judge position, and
we
without
know our stance
endorsing
on
anyone.
cannabis.
But I think that anyone who has been a friend to this industry deserves whatever support we can get them.
Definitely,
No doubt,
definitely.
absolutely.
And that goes back to what you were saying a little bit earlier. I would like to touch on one national story before we go, and that it's that the Democratic Party has endorsed marijuana legalization for the first time, and this really has a lot to do with Bernie Sanders staying in the race against Hillary Clinton when it was almost impossible for him to get the nomination. And even after she had secured enough votes that she was assured the nomination, Bernie refused to concede. And there were all sorts of calls saying, for him to get out. But the reason he didn't was because the Democratic platform committee met, and he was able to have his supporters get a number of different issues in front of this committee and move forward. And the one that, of course, we are interested in is that the new text of this is that because of conflicting laws concerning marijuana, both on the federal and state levels, we encourage the federal government to remove marijuana from its list of Class 1 controlled substances, providing a reasoned pathway for legalization. And that's what Bernie's group wanted to get. What they actually wound up getting was something that didn't say to remove it completely, but to look at rescheduling with an eye towards legalization. And they actually the Democratic Party is calling for marijuana legalization as part of its platform. Now, let me just say one word, though, about platforms and platform planks before we get into this, is that they're non-binding. In 2010, Jen and I worked together to get a platform plank in the state Democratic Party to support and encourage the development of a legitimate medical marijuana industry. And it got adopted into the platform and then just got ignored.
It's fizzled out. Hey,
So-
yeah,
On
definitely.
the other side of that, I have
Okay.
a story from the Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition out of Texas
All right.
that said that medical marijuana failed to make the GOP platform after vigorous debate. So while the Democrats are opening the door to full recreational marijuana in their platform, the Republicans slammed the door shut on even medical marijuana as a full party platform because, as one delegate argued, all people who commit mass murders are all smoking pot. And things of that nature, and this is straight from Cleveland.
I
And it's
think
just-
Just look
actually-
at mass
this-
murder on Cheetos.
this
No, I
is
was
the
gonna
nonsense that we still deal with
Yeah.
on a policy level. The
Yeah.
attempted clarification may have swayed some votes. Wyoming Senator John Barisow, chair of the platform committee, couldn't determine at the first attempt whether the measure was passed by voice vote. The proposal was voted down on the second vote, however. And it's just
It was like-
constant.
And even on this Democratic one, that vote that put
By
this
one.
language in there was 81 to 80. In
Oh
favor.
my God.
So
No,
I mean,
just
it's
barely.
that
You know,
close.
and you know who introduced that platform into that? That was our friend Christine Kramer,
Mm-hmm.
who was was recently here with Steve Ross and works
Yes.
with him in that. So she's been a friend of ours for a while. We've had her on the show probably a year and a half ago.
Yep.
And yeah, she's the one who introduced that, and
Wow.
it passed by one. But then the hemp bill failed.
That is strange.
It's like.
Yeah.
But still,
Insane. So as a proud Republican, Perry, how do you feel about the party that you support to take this kind of uninformed
it's horrible.
stance?
It's absolutely horrible. It alienates young voters. It not only spits in the face of the democratic process, considering a disproportionate amount of people want this, but it puts their own people in the closet. I'm not going to name names, but there are a lot of people on my Facebook page that work for the party who smoke cannabis, who will not, cannot, and are terrified to tell people about it because they'll lose their job, they'll lose their place in the party, they will be outcast, and they feel it's a shame because they will proudly carry that banner into battle, but get shot down because of it, because of something that they don't sit well with. And it's a lot of religious dogma that's involved in it. It's a lot of it's terrible. I mean, I could go into it for days, really, but I think it's absolutely it's against everything that the Republican Party supposedly stands for: small government, staying out of people's business, self-responsibility, but yet they can't wait to stick their nose in your business as soon as it has to do with pot or sex or a couple of other silly things that they really feel that they want control over your life with. And they back up employee drug testing, which is ridiculous. I mean, I could go into it for days, but really it's alienating a lot of young Republicans. It's alienating a lot of young Republicans or a lot of young or a lot of young fiscal conservatives from joining that.
So
from joining that
basically,
movement.
it's degrading the party.
I think it's by far the party's doing a good job of degrading itself, and
true.
they're just continuing to stoke those fires of hate. I don't understand.
And what you're doing is you're describing the typical Libertarian Party member who is fiscally conservative but socially
liberal,
socially progressive.
Absolutely. And if we can get something to say that we have open primaries to where libertarians can vote in the primary, I would love to register as one. But as long as that exists, it's going to be difficult for me. It's going to be difficult for me to register as a libertarian. It just is what it is.
I was going to say the Libertarian Party is now in Nevada. It's moving in the right direction. But about 3-4 years ago,
I
when
think it's more like 6 years ago.
maybe
Are you
6
talking
years
when
ago?
we went to the Libertarian Party convention?
It was divided, and it was backbiting and infighting and all sorts of nonsense that I was like, really, the Libertarian Party?
Kind of what's going on with the Democrats and the Republicans.
But the
now?
thing is that now the Libertarian Party has kind of moved past that. But you're right about the open primaries. Isn't there a chance that Bernie Sanders may run on the green?
No, he
No.
came out publicly today and endorsed Hillary. So
Yeah,
it's done and it's over.
That hurts.
I think that this
Bernie or
election
bust, right?
is going to be a choice of the lesser of two evils.
like most elections.
It always, well, people said anyone but Hillary. Congratulations. You got what you wanted.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, I think it's about time for us to wrap this up now.
So-
All right, I want you guys to take a look at all of our social media and our Facebook. Make sure that you're out there at the party to see me and visit
They're
me.
fun.
I need
They're
hugs.
great parties.
I need hugs. And
Check out our website, weekend702.org, for a calendar of all of our events.
thank you for having me, guys.
Yep. Thank you for
Anytime,
coming.
Madam President.
We'll see you next
And
week.
Thank you, guys.